I was going to educate the world in what was transdermal magnesium therapy. The health industry is the most wonderful industry. It's because I've listened to some very clever people. I don't think there's anything stronger, is there, than personal belief.
How was this brand born? Because it's a very personal story, and I think that's very different and unique. So I want to take you back to what you were doing and where and when you first discovered supplements and how this all came into being.
Now you're taking me back.
I'm taking you back to
20 years now.
Yeah.
It's 20 years because it was 2005, so it's 20 years ago. And you do know the majority of this. I was working for Wrangler Jeans at the time. At the moment when I was introduced to nutritional supplements, or the concept of nutritional supplements, I was in North Carolina. I was filming a rodeo. And I was in a bar. I was in a bar at the end of the day, and I went to the bar to buy a round of drinks for the crew. And I was at the bar talking to the barman, and I'd been an asthmatic since the age of 12. So I was on steroid-based inhalers, quite reliant on those. And I had my inhaler in my pocket, and I put it, along with some cash and stuff, on the bar. And the guy next to me, this quite surly Spanish guy, turned to me and said, "I can get you off that." So of course that's quite a statement. So I turned to him and I said, "Well, tell me more." His name was Juan Rosello, biochemist of some renown. And he then started to talk to me about the calcium magnesium diet and the balance. As a modern Westerner, I had exactly as he described, a high calcium intake, high dairy intake, and a low magnesium intake. Western diets, we have an over-reliance on dairy. It tends to be in everything. And even our industrialized agriculture has a high level of calcium in the artificial fertilizers. So, and feed. So calcium is very much in our system. Magnesium is not. Magnesium, if you're talking about dark green vegetables, magnesium is the fundamental ingredient to chlorophyll that makes green green. So dark green vegetables, whole grains, nuts, berries, pulses.
All the things we should be eating but don't.
And we know we should. There's something quite primal that we think they're good for us. They just don't feature in all our meals. And he described this situation. I thought, yeah, that's sort of my diet. It's high dairy. I used to drink like pints of milk just when I was thirsty. Low magnesium. And he said, basically, the magnesium-calcium relationship is they are both antithesis to each other. So they're direct opposites. And calcium is insoluble without the presence of magnesium. And when he described how calcium is a stiffener, and if you've got calcium penetrating soft tissue in the body, it stiffens it. So basically the musculature around our bronchial airways, for example, stiffens, and it needs to be flexible. Magnesium is nature's softener.
Relaxant, they call it.
That's right. It relaxes, it softens, it allows the muscle to truly function. And when you've got low magnesium, high calcium, you're basically turning into a stick of chalk, which is how he described me. So it's like, wow, okay. So we were there, we were talking 20, 30 minutes at the bar. And he
Meanwhile,
said,
your friends are waiting for a drink.
Yeah, I think somebody actually came up to get the drinks at this point. And I remember he said, look, I'm working with some liquid magnesium. It was magnesium chloride. He said, I've been using it for sports therapy, for muscle relaxation, muscle function. He said, I'd like to drop some off to your hotel room before you leave. I said, well, that'd be fantastic. True to his word, 2 days later at reception, there was a litre bottle, sort of 2-pint bottle, of magnesium chloride. It just looked like water, which I duly took home. I flew home with it. And for the next month, I was, as he described, I was pouring it into my hands and rubbing it on my shoulders, upper arms, my torso, pretty much where I held my stress. That's where I was putting it. After about 4 weeks or so, I'm feeling much more flexible. I feel more relaxed. I was convinced I wasn't using my inhaler as much as I used to. So I phoned Juan and said, Juan, I genuinely think this is working. Where can I buy some more? I'd love to give this proper long-term usage. And he said, well, it's not commercially available. It was actually sent to me by a mine. The mine is based in Northern Holland. If you need to know more, best thing you should do is go and see them. So it's like, okay. So we talked a little bit more and I put the phone down. I thought, well, that's that then. But the more I thought about it, the more I was getting excited because I genuinely felt a difference. You know, physiologically, I felt better. So I thought and I thought, right, that's it. So I got on a plane. So I flew to Amsterdam, then I took a train to a place called Veendam in Northern Holland, and I visited the mine. And the mine was run by 2 geologists, one called Bert and one called Dave. Beautiful people, really, really cool. And I spent the morning with Bert and Dave, who were so generous with their time, and they showed me the mine. I then met the mine owners. I was going to educate the world in what was transdermal magnesium therapy. So I flew home and I set up the company.
You were doing 2 jobs almost.
Yeah, I started with 2 jobs until, yes, my sideline became my lifeline. It became everything that I represented and that reflected me. It's the most wonderful industry. The health industry is the most wonderful industry. And I was lucky enough to meet some really, really great people who were very generous with their time. The identification of the importance of magnesium and the delivery mechanism through the skin is very BetterYou. It's because I've listened to some very clever people who just knew what they were talking about. You know, Juan Rosello, he got this. He was a biochemist, he could see the importance. A lot of people received samples like he did, and they went straight in the bin. You know, he could see this. He could see that this was something rather important.
What I love about the story is it's a series of chance meetings as well, and the BetterYou came to being because you had proof as well. You met the right person, but you used the product, you saw the benefit. It's based on your own personal experience.
I don't think there's anything stronger, is there, than personal belief. Yeah. And a lot of people who take supplements, they may not see a benefit immediately. They may not see a benefit for months and months and months. They have to have a belief. They're doing it for a reason, because they feel that something is missing. Yeah, a nutrient is missing. And 9 times out of 10, they're right. And with the right advice, they're taking the right form.
All of our innovation is based on maximising absorption. That's the start point, is what's the ingredients that we need to maintain everyday health, and what's the most bioavailable form, so the magnesium chloride, and then what's the best way to get it as quickly as possible into the bloodstream. And that's how we bring products to market.
You are so right. BetterYou has always been and was launched on the basis of food first. So food first, get as many nutrients in the right form as you can from your diet, and then we are there, we are designed to plug the gaps inevitably left from modern diet and lifestyle. So we know, for example, from a magnesium point of view, that normal processed foods, industrialized agriculture, means that our magnesium intake is much, much lower than it ever was 100 years ago.
And cooking methods as well. You know, we boil vegetables to death. And
Absolutely right, absolutely right. Yes, there's probably more goodness in the water than there is in the vegetable that ends up on your plate sometimes. You're so right. But there's also a situation where we are having more and more prescription medication which can fight with our body's ability to absorb nutrients.
what do you take every day? What supplements do you take?
Vitamin D every day, B12 every day, magnesium every day.
And
Those are my three.
Those are your three.
Every day, and have done, well, now for almost 2 decades.